Good morning, everybody. Good morning. A lot of people here today. Thanks for coming. Same for you guys, wherever you are and whenever you are. We are all one. Mm-hmm. And that knowledge that there is only one, and I am of it, that each of us is of it, fills and overflows in me. That one which is the stars, the mice, the leaves on the trees, the mushrooms, the good, the bad, the not so pretty, the music, all of it is of that one genius almost, that one that creates, is creation, that one that is it not just loves, but is love. That is what each of us is. In the many, many faces of that, the many, many expressions of that, we are each of us that love. The freedom to be who we are. Good, bad, and not so good. So I'm grateful today to know that when things don't go perfectly the way we expect, or the way I expect, that I have with me community. I have with me people to help me lift that which seems heavy or confusing or downright hard. So I am grateful for this community, for the lift that we all together lift, this lift of goodness, of support, of caring, of compassion, this lift of wisdom and fun and joy. I see it as a plate on which all these good things sit, and the plate could be heavy, but if each of us slip our fingers under the plate and join together in lifting it, it weighs nothing. In fact, lifts the heart. So today, recognizing sticking the landing on not so solid ground just means knowing we got this together. We've got this. Me and God, me and Spirit, me and the Creator, all of us together, we've got this. And this is so good. So I am grateful for that knowing, for that clarity, that there is nothing but good. We need just look for it together and find it together. Because together is what it's all about. I am so grateful for that. It fills my heart. It allows me to know I am contributing all the time, even with just my consciousness. I'm going to let these words go now. They are already moving in the law, which makes it all happen. And I am grateful, and so it is.
So this whole year, we've been working on a theme of a grand rising. And so we're in the last month of looking at a grand rising, and the talks for this month are working with the idea of sticking the landing, which is a term out of gymnastics. Many of you are probably familiar with that, but it's like after you've done all the stuff, you got to finish strong. You got to finish on the ground, perfectly grounded. And so that's what we're doing this month, is looking at how to stick the landing, how to finish out in a way that is strong and powerful. And so our talk today is called Standing on Solid Air. Like it? Yes. It's a very wise and great minister who wrote these talks this month. And played with, and loved playing with the. Later on this month, we're going to look at swimming in solid ground, I believe it is. Buffy's going to be talking about that because I'm going to be on vacation that Sunday. But anyway, so sticking the landing and standing on solid air. So everything is created twice, as you know, right? First in mind, then in form. Everything on the planet, every form we see was first a thought. You know, the chair you're sitting on was first an idea in somebody's mind, yes? And then somebody made a chair, and then it was an idea in somebody else's mind to, let's buy that chair and bring it here. You know, all that stuff. So everything starts first in mind and then follows in form. Our thinking and our beliefs have a powerful influence on our lives. Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was a New Thought writer in the 1880s, 1890s, said she had a series of what she called denials she called them the denials of science, but it's just like, you know, this is what's not the truth. And so one of hers was, there is no matter. Now remember, she's writing this in 1885, before quantum physics was kind of, you know, a well-known process, right? There is no matter. She's saying everything is spirit. It shows up as matter, but everything essentially, and behind all that is the infinite presence, the infinite spirit. And so, while we might disagree about that, there's no matter based on today's scientific wisdom, we do recognize that matter is an emanation of spirit. Ralph Waldo Emerson, a couple of decades before she said that, wrote in his essay Circles, there are no fixtures in nature. The universe is fluid and volatile. Permanence is but a word of degrees. Our globe seen by God is a transparent law, not a mass of facts. The law dissolves the fact and holds it fluid. When we look at this from a spiritual point of view, all of this is fluid. All of this is flexible. This is what we teach. This is what we practice, is to work on how can we be a place where we can shift what we see out here. So the quantum physicists will tell us that nothing is as solid as we perceive it to be. Yes? Yes. And if you don't know that, the quantum physicists will tell you that none of this is as solid as we think it is. What we call thought and form are both ultimately energy being shared, being shaped by conscious expectation and perception. I'm creating out of energy. The quantum physicists notice that they affect what they're observing by the very fact that they're observing and by their expectations about what they're observing. So we begin this month with the core beliefs of our science of mind teaching as the solid air, thoughts, beliefs, upon which we stand. That's what we're going to explore with today. And so, since the infinite oneness is all there is, layered in three aspects of mind, law, and form, and that's what this little symbol is, mind, law in the middle, and form at the bottom. Since everything is that, our only work is to increase our understanding of the nature of spirit and our alignment with that oneness. That's really all we have to do, is get in alignment with that. You know, there are days that are perfect, as the song says, and then there are days that we feel out of alignment, yes? Okay? So that's our work, is to get more in alignment with that. This oneness is not here to serve my ego-based desires, my ego-based whims. It's not here to be a vending machine for, oh, I'd like a new car, I'd like a new girlfriend, I'd like a new whatever. It's not here for that. We are here to align with and flow with, and in a way serve the flow of that universe, of that universal tendency. So God doesn't have a plan. I'm sorry. I know. Somebody's got to have a plan, but it's not God. God doesn't have a plan, but God has tendencies which show up, which we can align with. See, the reason God doesn't have a plan or a purpose is if the infinite presence is all there is, where would it plan to go? Right? We make plans, because we're playing in this particular form of life. But on the infinite level, there's no need for a plan. So all this, many of us grew up with, well, what is God's plan for me? God doesn't have a plan for you. You might have a plan for you. Your deep inner wisdom self might have an idea of what it wants to do with this lifetime and how it wants to play on this planet. But the infinite doesn't have an agenda for you. The infinite is just being love. So Ernest Holmes, our founder, summarized his ideas of this truth, and we want to align that truth the best we can in a set of statements called What I Believe, that was first published in the 1927 Science Mind magazine's first issue. And we have a picture, Ernie, and that. So in our lives, everything flows from our beliefs, whether they are helpful or harmful. See, if I believe that I'm a poor person, what's going to be my life experience? If I believe that I'm, lack and then. If I believe that I'm a person who always gets sick, what's my experience going to be? Okay? So everything flows from our beliefs sooner or later, whether they're helpful or harmful. The universe doesn't care. It doesn't have an agenda that says, I'm only going to support your helpful beliefs, I'm not going to support your... It doesn't care. I've used the metaphor oftentimes of electricity. It doesn't care what we plug into it, does it? It's just going to flow. So as we align our individual minds with mind, capital M mind, the law supports the flow of that life energy. So into a form of I'm doing a whole different talk format up here today, so I'm just, pardon me about that. I don't have my bubbles that I usually have. So the law supports the flow of that life energy into form in a multitude of ways in our individual lives. The law is constantly working. The form is constantly flowing. We get to say this is what it is. So our first and foundational belief, and if we can get that next slide, on which our whole teaching stands is we believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. Now, the name doesn't matter. If you get hung up on the name God, use something that works for you. It doesn't care. Use whatever works for you. And I find that my name for God evolves as I evolve. It shifts as I shift. The name can change over time. But the important thing to understand is that there is only this oneness. And the oneness shows up in form in lots of multiplicity. But it is all still only one. Always and only one. So you and I are expressions of the multiplicity of God, yes? Yes. But behind it all is a oneness. We are all one. Whether we remember it or forget it, whether we're aware of it or not, we get into trouble when we forget or are not aware of it. So as we deepen our awareness of this, we realize that God is within us and we are within God. Take that in for a moment. God is in me and I am in God simultaneously. We are never separated from that which is closer than our breath, closer than our neck vein, as the Talmud says. As we notice our fears and our feelings of separation, we have the opportunity to return to that awareness of all as one. And then the second half of that statement is that this one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe, all this stuff we see and feel and experience, is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God, of the divine. We're living in the body of God, and we are the body of God in form, each of us, all of us together. We see the effects of God. The godness is more than what it creates. It creates, but it's more than that. Just like an artist creates, but is more than just their creation, yes? Okay. So we can't see God directly, but we can see the effects of God. Just like we can't see the wind directly, but we can see the effect of wind, yes? We see the leaves moving. We don't see wind. Nobody here has ever seen wind. First of all, it's a concept. It's just air moving. But secondly, we don't see wind. We see what it is doing. We see its effects. Ernest then goes on to say, on the next slide, we believe in the incarnation of the Spirit in everyone, and that all people are incarnations of the one Spirit. Nudge your neighbor, say, you and I are incarnations of the one Spirit. You and I are incarnations of the one Spirit. By the way, that means the person you don't like is an incarnation of the one Spirit too. Breathe. Yeah, Buffy just said it makes you appreciate the ones. We wouldn't appreciate the ones we like unless we had a few people to know what not liking them is. Yes? Got to have a little contrast. So as God incarnates into form as people, all people, and the next slide, the next belief is we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever expanding. This is evolution, that we are, as individual souls, taking form on a path of ever-expanding evolution into more and more and more of the nature of the divine. And by the way, you're on this path of evolution, this river of evolution, whether you like it or not. And as we sang, I think it was just last week, we can go kicking and screaming down the path of evolution, or we can flow with it. The next belief, we believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. So heaven in our teaching is not someplace up there, a physical place that we'll go to after we die. It's right here, it's right now, it's within us as we're conscious of it. Yes? It's available to us for us to experience to the degree we become aware of it. And then the next belief, we believe that the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature. Does that sound good? Okay. And that this good is sure to be attained by some people. Those of us who agree with me, right? Oh, no, it's all people. It's sure to be attained by all. Why is this sure to be attained by all? Because in an infinite oneness, it can't leave part of itself behind. Got that? If there's only one, there's no part that can be out of alignment with it in the final version of it. It's sure to be attained by all. So God is not some remote principle. Rather, it is the very life that we are. It's personal to each of us. When we were studying the talks of Ernest Holmes this past year, he talked a lot about, this is one of Buffy's favorite little terminologies, the immanence and the transcendence. And the immanence is that it's right here within us. And the transcendence is, and it's everywhere. All of it simultaneously. The God within, the God without. We're in it, it's in us. The next belief, the next set of beliefs starts to get into, we believe in the unity of all life and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. It's the same thing. We are always within this life. We are always within this life, this love, this wisdom, this power, this peace, this beauty, this joy. We are always in that, even if we're not aware of it. We're always there. All of God is right here, right now. So we're God being God as ourselves. No separation. Again, nudge your neighbor, remind them we're both being God right now. And then the last third of these statements of belief help us to understand how this infinite beingness expresses in, through, and as us. So the next one, we believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. God is personal too. God is personal to all of us, but we experience it if we're willing to open up and experience that. You know, I can be sitting here with a handout of $1,000 to you, but if you're not willing to experience it or pay attention to it, do you get the $1,000? No. It's available, but we don't accept it. This, you know, Jesus used the metaphor of a wedding ceremony where people are invited, and the ones that he invites are all too busy doing other stuff. And so he goes out and, you know, the person who invites them, you know, goes out and gets a whole bunch of other people instead. So this is available to us. It's personal to all who feel this indwelling presence, who take the time and the attention to go within to spend time with that. The next one is that we believe in the direct revelation of truth through the intuitive and spiritual nature of the individual, and that any person may become a revealer of truth, that's capital T truth, who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. And here, Ernest is sort of stepping away from some of the traditional religious beliefs of people who have gone before him that only certain people are revealers of truth. Only certain people can know this. He's saying, no, anybody who lives in direct contact with this indwelling presence is in touch with it, is in tune with it, is knowing that. So that's you and me. We don't need an intermediary. That's why there's no pope. That's why, you know, you don't even need me. You don't need me to intercede or, you know, between you and some God. This infinite presence is right here, right now, and as we know it, we start to become more and more and more aware of the truth that wants to manifest through us. We believe, next one, that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God. And this is one of the tougher things that newbies, you know, new folks sometimes have. So Ernest always taught that everything is love, God is love, and God is law. So love is just the infinite love. There's nothing you can do to stop this love. There is a law, there is a how it works. Just like electricity is electricity, but there's laws of electricity, and it helps to follow them, yes? And if we don't follow them, we kind of get zapped in some way or another. It's the same with the laws of life, the same with that. They're really there to guide us to a deeper and deeper and deeper experience of the infinite love, the infinite nature. But we get to learn about them. It's kind of our little puzzle that we get to undo in human life, right? It's the gift that we get to unwrap. So, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that we are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. That part is what I call the good news, bad news of this kind of a teaching. It receives a direct impress of our thoughts and acts upon it. What are you thinking? What are you really thinking? What are you really believing? We talked about this just last week. What are my real beliefs? Because that's what's showing up in my life. And if you want to know what your real beliefs are, you just look at what's showing up in your life, and that'll say, oh, that's what I must be believing. Even though I'm saying I want to believe this, what I'm really believing is underneath that. And that's what's showing up. Because of that, we can make the next two statements here. The next one is, we believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. And he wrote this in 1927 when medicine wasn't what it is today, yes? And so healing of the sick was a big thing in the New Thought movement in the first 50, 60 years of it. And frankly, it still should be, in my opinion, that's my should, today. Could be. But we believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind, this capital M mind, which is not my little mind. It's not me healing anybody. It's opening up to allowing this power that is already the life energy, the health, the wholeness, and vibrancy of the universe to show up in my or the person who's in front of me's body and experience. And then the next half part of that is we believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. So that which is out there, we get to direct through the power, again, not of my little mind, my individual self, but holding the highest and consciousness, the highest concept we can of what's happening, shifts conditions. And those of us who have played around in religious science for a little while have watched that happen as an actual demonstration. Okay? Those are couple of cores in there that we can shift energy, we can shift form as we align ourselves with that infinite mind and work with the law. Then finally, the next to last one is we believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. We believe in goodness. Now, that's not saying that we don't notice that there's stuff happening in the world, right? We're not going la la la. We're not a bunch of, those of you who got the Advent message, this morning, if you read it already, as Ernest said something about we're not a bunch of hopeful nitwits running around, that we stand on a solid ground, a solid belief of that we know that underneath all of this is a goodness. Richard Rohr basically wrote the same thing in this morning's meditation, that we believe that life is goodness itself. Now, we can mess with it, we can forget it, we can get astray of it, we can go hide from it, but life itself, the underlying ground upon which all of this stands, is good. Is good. And it's a good beyond my idea of good, bad, right, wrong. Okay? It's always expressing its own nature. And then finally, we believe in our own soul, our own spirit, and our own destiny. For we understand that life, the life of all, is God. And that's pretty powerful. We believe in our own soul. We believe in our own spirit and our own destiny. I don't need a savior. Take a breath. We are our Savior. We have that power within us. We are that as we align with that. Because of millennia of social conditioning, understanding this, living this is not an easy task, right? We've all had too much, and our ancestors have passed along too much of all sorts of other things. Yet it is a task that's before us as religious scientists, as people to claim to believe in taking a new thought, which we know results in a new form. So it may seem that we stand on wisps of air, on thoughts and words, yet we know that this divine nature is more than what we tend to call reality. It's more real, capital R, real, than what we tend to call this reality out here. This is the quantum physicist. This is Emerson saying what it looks like out here isn't really the realness. It's more fluid than it looks like. It's more fluid than it looks. We know that this divine nature is more solid than the appearances around us, and that as gymnasts on the field of life, we are being called to stick the landing, to land solidly with these beliefs, with these thoughts, knowing that this infinite oneness being all there is in full support of its nature, expressing through and as us. And so let our performance be a 10. For those of you who know how gymnastics are graded, that's your highest grade. So I want to close with a quote from Ernest, who says, "Religious science is a religion of joy." It's a religion of what? Joy. Yes. Free from fear. It is a religion of faith justified by results. So this is not just I hope this is good. There's a wonderful thing in there where he says, if you're working to lower your blood pressure, but you're afraid to test your blood pressure, you don't really believe that you're lowering your blood pressure. You don't know that you've lowered your blood pressure until your blood pressure goes down, yes? So it is a religion of faith justified by results. The New Age, and he's talking about this, not New Age as we sometimes refer to it today, but the new way of being demands that the fear and superstition surrounding religious convictions, be removed. That's all the, you're a horrible sinner and you need so-and-so to save you and all that stuff. Let it go. And that the truth, plain, simple, and direct, be presented, that people may learn to live now, in the presence, with the assurance that the eternal God is their refuge. That's what we're being called to. So I invite you to Play with this week in two ways. Take one of these beliefs, and you'll find them on our website. You'll find them actually, I think, where's Susan Kibbe? Right there. I think we have them in the New Here brochure also, or one of our brochures back there on the New Here table. Take one of those beliefs and play, work, wrestle with it. Make it yours. Get jiggy with it, as I like to say. And then secondly, ask yourself, what do I believe? What do I really believe? And the hint is, take a look at your life to see your beliefs in form. And don't beat yourself up, just notice. Are you willing to play with those two practices this week? Yes. Take one of those beliefs, wrestle with it, and make it your own. And secondly, what do I believe? What do I really believe? So we have an affirmation. Say this with me. I stand on solid thoughts to co-direct the flow of my life. One more time. I stand on solid thoughts to co-direct the flow of my life. And so I do. And so it is.